I'm always embarrassed by my introduction because I'm really just a girl with really big hair that's trying to do a good job. So, but you guys are my people. I am a customer experience student. I love this space, and I love being with people that understand, speak my language, and can help me solve some of the biggest problems we have, which is really crappy customer experience. Dave and I were at breakfast, and he said, hey, we do this conference. It's kind of a really big deal, and I'm kind of a really big deal. David, I'm a big deal. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me for the dodgeball team. And he said, would you be willing to come and talk to these guys? I'm like, yes, absolutely. So I've probably over-prepared. I've probably put together too much, but I'm going to make sure that there's time for you to ask questions, and Dave's actually going to come up, and we're going to have some fun. So I mentioned love customer experience, love working with customer experience people, but you guys are kind of pioneers, really. You're really explorers, and some of you have highly evolved programs, but most people don't have highly evolved programs. The reality of it is you have a really hard job. Because if your CEO is like a lot of CEOs, they're like, oh, customer experience, that's nice to do, super fluffy stuff. We just have to check off the box, we have to have it. If we just survey a bunch of people, it's all good, right? The ones that are highly evolved understand that that's probably the most important team that they have in the organization. And you got to spend time translating. You're like the Rosetta Stone in your company. You're translating what's happening to what it does to the business. So in some of the research that we did at Merit CX, 72% of CX professionals, you guys, admitted that they don't think their programs do a very good job. And I was surprised at that. And part of it's because a lot of companies are just at the very beginning of their CX maturity. They understand that promoter score, kind of. They survey, kind of. They don't actually know what to do with all the information. They don't really get to the why of why customers do what they do. And they don't know how to map it to metrics that your CEO cares about. So your CEO is looking at top-line growth. They're looking at expense. They're looking at retention. So you need to speak their language. You need to translate what's happening with the customer to things that they really care about. Retention's the holy grail, by the way. If you can help your organization understand how you can solve for retention and how it's cheaper to take care of an existing customer than to go and get a new customer, then you have their attention. And so don't spend a lot of time going, look, it slices, it dices, it regrows hair, it does this, it does that. Because the executives are going to be like, I'm going to lose the will to live if I got to sit through another CX presentation, right? Truly. You know, if you were to truthfully, you'd be like, yeah, I get it. I prepare all this stuff, and they're like, yeah, speed date me through it, right? But if you can say to your boss, if we approve retention by 1%, it's $14 million. Guess what? He's like, please tell me more of this magic sauce that you have found, right? So you gotta trick them into understanding what it is that you're doing, because you gotta speak their language. Most companies really don't get it, but the stat that concerns me the most is that your frontline employees, right? These are usually the lowest paid guys in your company, right? The lowest paid guys are the only ones who touch the customer. Oh, that makes so much sense, right? The frontline employees, 36% of them believe and say that their executives care more about the score than the actual experience. Okay, that's a problem. But we see that when we look at the experience that we as consumers have, we see that. I have so many stories to tell you because I move through my life in a customer experience haze, right? And I'm always surprised when I get good customer experience. So the reality of it is, we're used to really crummy customer experience. We put up with it. TSA, right? Exhibit A. Let's just stand in line with a bunch of angry people who no one appreciates for a really long time. So I have so many TSA stories. One of my funny ones, funny, is I was flying out of Toledo, not a great airport, but the only one that you can get back home from Detroit, Maumee. So I go to Toledo, and they have a TSA pre-check line. Like, those are my people, right? These are my people. I'm in the line. The TSA agent says, oh, excuse me, but you need to take off your shoes, your belt, and take your laptop out of your... I'm like, oh, no. I'm better than everybody else. I'm TSA PreCheck. I paid for it. I've earned it. Those are not my people. He's like, well, in Toledo, TSA PreCheck means you got to take off your shoes, your belt, and your laptop. And I'm like, is this a joke? He didn't know what I was talking about. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, so why don't you change that sign to say TSA JK? He goes, what? I'm like, it's all good. I don't want to be strip searched, so I'll just do it. Right? TSA should know that this is a problem for customers. I'm always looking for the customer at the center of the experience, right? So for me, if I'm running TSA, I have a line for people who travel more than 100,000 miles a year. I have a line for people who travel 50,000 miles a year. I have a line for people who travel 10,000 miles a year. I have a line for people that never travel, and I have a line for people with children, right? Because that's how it works. The line with children's always going to be jacked up. Strollers, baby formula, right? The line with people who are traveling 100,000 miles a year, they travel a lot. They get the drill. They know how to do it. You can get all those people through. No one's angry. And they're probably cutting their flights pretty close, so you're going to get them all on their flights. Right? It makes so much sense to me. When I explain to people, they're like, yeah, we're never going to do it that way. So think about, are you providing crummy customer experience? The funny thing to me is that we all know when we see good customer experience, but yet our companies are still doing crummy customer experience, right? We expect to get a no on the phone. We expect to be on hold. We never expect to speak to a human. We expect to have to explain something over and over and over. We expect to get passed around. Can I please talk to your manager? And I'm one of those people that likes to see the end of the story, so I follow my problems all the way to the end. I was in Europe this summer with my family. We had to change the tickets. It's like a big drama. I've flown on Delta my whole life, so I'm like a gajillion-mile customer. I call, and I said, hey, you guys changed this because I was here with this seat, and I don't want my kids flying by themselves because, you know, they'll eat too much food, and they'll have a big bill at the end of it because they'll buy everything on the cart. So they said, well, we didn't change it. I'm like, you did change it because I have a printout. Well, Mrs. Clark, did you get a screenshot of that? I'm like, I'm in a hotel with really slow internet. Like, it's my job to get a screenshot of that? So finally, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a dumb question, right? So too many times we're asking dumb questions. Too many times we make it hard for customers to give us their money, right? Think about it. Our job is to make it easier for customers to give us their money. So the reality of it is stuff's moving super fast, and time matters. So if you have a culture and organization that gets customer experience, that understands how to make it easy for the customer, then you will be resilient. You'll be able to adapt. Your team will be able to figure it out. And think about culture as, in your organization, think about an aquarium. The people and the teams in your organization are the fish. The culture's the water, right? So it matters what temperature that water is. It matters the pH level in that water. It's not just an individual person. The entire pool has to support customer experience, and it has to start inside the company. So look inside your company. The best way to figure out how you're going to do is to see how do you treat each other in the company. Do you take care of each other? Do you cover for each other? Is there no silos, right? Is development going, oh yeah, it's their fault. And the CX team is like, oh, it's the product's fault. And the sales guys, oh, it's the marketing's fault, because it's always marketing's fault, right? It's like, if you see that, then you're never going to have great customer experience. You have to make sure that you're treating each other well inside the company, and you're more interested in taking care of the customer than taking credit. And that you are committed to making customer experience simple and personalized and specialized, because that's the only way it's going to work for your customers. Oh, and by the way, you have to use technology to do that. So Dave said, I'm a technology girl. I've been in technology for more than 30 years. And I do believe that you can use technology to make it easier for your customers and make it seamless for your customers, because technology can look for patterns in the data. And the answers really are in the data. Don't make your problems the customer's problems, right? Like Delta. Did you get a screenshot of that? Why is that my problem, right? Think of some of these retailers. I'm a big fan of Amazon. I give them all my discretionary money. They make me a better mother, better than anyone else. Because my son will be like, Mom, I got to have this book tonight. And I'm in Toledo. And his father will never take him to buy anything because he's like, hey, it's your problem, figure it out. I'm an enabler, apparently. So I say to my son, as I'm talking to him, I'm like, hey, it's all good, don't worry. Just make sure you get your homework done. In the meantime, I'm ordering the book on Kindle, delivering it to his device. At the end of the call, I'm like, buddy, don't worry, it's on your Kindle. Mom, it's like it's magic. I'm like, yes, Amazon makes me a better mother, right? I'm at Target last Christmas because I don't go to many stores, but Target and Costco are the two that I will drag myself into. And there was a Settlers of Catan Star Trek edition game on the shelf. My sons would think I'm the coolest mom on the planet. It was $55. I'm like, is that a lot? So what did I do? I scanned it with my Amazon app. $75 on Amazon. Way better price here. Bought it. Amazon made me a better mother. Target doesn't get any credit for it, but Amazon makes me better. Never talk to a human at Amazon. Never, ever. I send them email. They take care of problems. I ordered some very groovy glasses for the Eclipse, 4 pair. They didn't get here in time. Came afterwards. They sent them in 1 box, 3 pair on 1 ticket, 1 pair on the other ticket. So I said, I'm going to send it back. You know how you go in that little order thing, send it back? And I'm like, what do I do? They all came in 1 box. I have 2 tickets, 3 in 1. So I printed both tickets, put them back in the box, knowing that this is going to get messed up, right? It's going to not work. But remember, I want to see the play all the way to the end. So I put the receipt or the label for the 3 on top, because if I'm going to get screwed, I just want to get screwed for 1, not for 3. And then I took the other one and put it inside and wrote a note. Hey, Amazon warehouse person that doesn't speak English, I need to get credit for this. So once UPS clicked the box, I got credit for the 3, not for the 1. The distribution center was in Vegas, so I'm like, I'll give it a little time. 2 weeks go by, never get credit for the 1. So I send a little email, and I know that I'm in trouble when the first line is, hello, please. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to write really slow and keep it super simple. But guess what? They gave me credit for it. And they're like, Mrs. Clark, next time, send it back in 2 boxes. Ooh, they just made their problem my problem, right? Their system brings stuff in when they scan the box, not when they open it. Made a mistake. They'll fix it, but they made their problem my problem. I said, I sent it back in the box you sent it to me, knowing that it was going to get jacked up. Why should I got to go out to the garage and empty something to get another box, right? It should work. Think about it. You got to put yourself in the mind of the customer. Okay. Oh, they're going the wrong way. Carine's hitting the wrong button. Can't do it. All right. You've got to put the customer at the center of what you're doing. The best insights come from outsights, right? Think about it. I'm a big fan of contextual inquiry. Big fan. Meaning sit your big butt in the customer's seat. Install the software they're buying from you. Order the junk they're ordering from you. Call your own phone line. Measure everything. You don't need everything, but if you measure everything, you can start to figure out where the problems are. I promise you, when you put yourself in the customer, buy your own product, call, register your own product, you're like, this is really horrible. Like, why don't we make it easier? Why do we ask people their name when we call them? Why do we ask them a name when we send them an email? I hate filling out surveys. I'm never going to fill out another survey again. So if you want my information, you should already know information about me because I gave you money. Think about how you can make it simple for them, personalized for them, easy for them. Think of your best customer experience. Okay, if you're having trouble thinking of it, I bet you can think of your worst customer experience. And the parlor trick I usually play is, I spoke at this big data event, and I'm like, think of your worst customer experience. I promise you, it's probably your home internet provider, your home TV provider, or your cell phone provider. They're like, oh my gosh, she's so bright. They're service providers. They know everything about you, right? Your home internet provider, your home TV provider, your cell phone provider. Your cell phone provider knows everything about you. They can find my phone when I can't find it, right? It's my most personal device. It's with me more than my husband or my children. They know where I go. They know what I do. They know when I surf. They know who I call. They know how much I pay. They know how I pay on a credit card. They know that I've been a customer for 34 years. Oh my gosh. They know I have 10 devices. They know that all my employees, I always put on their system. When I walk into their store, they're like, what number are you? Because we're a big company. And I'm like, you know what? The experience would be totally different if you walk in the store and they're like, oh, Mrs. Clark, how are you today? Right? Because they have my GPS on an iPad. All they got to do is cost them nothing. They would know that I only come in the store for one thing. What do you think that thing is? New phone. I don't go to the store for anything else. Remember, I don't talk to people. I got to do everything online. I only go in the store for a new phone. And I only buy Apple phone because I'm already committed to all this Apple junk, right? So I just got to stay with it. It's too hard to change. And so the experience I want is, oh, Mrs. Clark. They push away the paper boy. They push away the old person that can't figure out their phone. We're so happy to see you today. We know that you only come in for this new iPhone. We already have it here with all your contacts on it. We know you always buy the one with the most memory, which we never carry in the store. We don't want you to wait. And we put a shield on you for no cost. Here you go. I'd be like, what has happened to this planet? Oh my gosh, right? We're not going to get that experience. Home TV provider, they know when you're home. They know what you watch. They know what you don't watch. They know all the channels. They know everything about you. And yet, have you ever tried to get new hardware? Right? It's easier to buy a car than to get new hardware. Those companies are not going to survive because we live in a world where we want things on demand. We want it now. We want you to know us. We want it to be personal. One of the reasons I went to Banyan, people say, why'd you go to Banyan? Because I believe, just like there was the consumerization of IT, there's going to be the consumerization of healthcare. And that I am tired of waiting in doctor's offices for like an hour for an appointment that I made 3 months ago that they picked the time for, right? I'm like, y'all picked the time. Where's everybody? Why I gotta wait here? Same with the orthodontist. Same with the chiropractor, right? So I just went through 5 years. I was a cancer patient for 5 years. I did 18 months of chemo. I have been to the bowels of the healthcare organizations. It's horrible. And now we're paying for our health care more than we were in the past. And it's the most intimate relationship that you have. Me and a complete stranger who wants me to take off my clothes, right? And yet we're like, oh yeah, I'll sit in your lobby. It's going to be different because the consumerization of healthcare means that we are going to make choices. We're going to pick places that we care about with people that are not strangers that will do a good job for us. We're going to make a difference. My dentist has me forever. His father was my dentist for more than 20 years, loved him. And his father said, I'm going to be retiring. I'd like you to start going to my son. I'm like, oh, no. I don't go to, no. Like, I don't know if he's any good. He's like, well, you should try him. I'm like, no, I'm going to go to you till you die, even if I have to come to your house. So he's like, okay. You know, I brought him a lot of business, so he's keeping me happy. A few months later, my older son, who's 23 now, is 5, was in a tragic playground accident where all of his teeth broke off at the root. 6 years old. Now, it took me 11 years to get this son, and I have invested so much money in him. And now he's going to be ugly forever. Right? So I raced there. He's got this washcloth in his mouth, and the principal, he goes to a private school, and they're like, well, this is what happened. Don't care. Get this boy in the car, call the dentist's office. Older dentist not there. Younger dentist's son is there. I'm like, look, I don't know what I'm dealing with, but I have a kid he already has problems because he's super nerdy, so I need this to be fixed. I'm driving down, 20 minutes to get there, blood all in my car, don't care. I drag him into the dentist's office. Dentist that I don't really know. Has all his hygienists there, he's there, put him in a chair. Mrs. Clark, we're good. Can't get the x-rays in his mouth. I'm freaking out, right, because I'm a new mom. Like he's gonna die and be ugly. So the dentist puts the puts the X-ray, the lead jacket on, and holds those X-rays film in his mouth. He calls the periodontist, the child, and trying to figure out, okay, what do we need to do? So he's got experts on the phone. They remove the teeth. He stitches up this boy's mouth, sends me home. Comes to my house that night, check on the stitches. Comes to my house every single night until those stitches are gone. He has me forever because he made it easy for me. He gave me a customer experience that you don't ever get anywhere. So now, fast forward, my kids are almost grown, 15 and 23. My older son, the one who broke his teeth off, and they all grew in okay, by the way, but he and my younger son, who's the largest 15-year-old in captivity, 6'2", 285 pounds, size 13 shoe, were wrestling, broke off one of those beautiful teeth of my older son's on a Sunday. So I'm like, you're 23 years old. You got to take care of yourself. He texts the dentist. Dentist says, I'll meet you in my office in 15 minutes. We got to take care of that because you're not married yet. You got to look good. These are the people we want, right? This is the customer experience we want. USAA, best customer experience on the planet. Been a customer for 34 years. My husband's the worst driver on the planet. They call me, they're like, Mrs. Clark, your son was in a car accident. I'm like, actually, it's my husband, but I am raising him. And don't throw me out. I will divorce him before I give up this insurance. Love USAA. My parents were in a car accident. My father's a colonel. My father calls me, your mother and I have been in a bad car accident. Carine, I need you to take care of it. So I call USAA, because I'm on his downline, right? No social security number, no my social security number. I call USAA. They handle everything. Mrs. Clark, first question, how are your parents? Are they going to be okay? Yes, they're going to be fine. Okay, we will get the car. We will take care of it. We'll get them a rental car. What hospital? I was like, this is why I love USAA. At the very end of the phone call, Mrs. Clark, please thank your father for his service to this country. We are safe and secure because of him. How do you think I felt? I'm like, God bless America. I start crying, right? They use technology that they built to provide a better customer experience, but their whole culture is taking care of me. When I was at Huntsman Cancer, 18 months chemotherapy, I never called insurance one time. They have a culture of care like no one else. So, don't feel like you're out there by yourself. Don't feel like this is just so hard, because it's worthwhile. And the good thing is, y'all always have a job, because there's not a lot of people who do what you do. And the more that you look out over this opportunity, the better it is for all of us, because you're going to start to figure out, we can make a difference. 89% of companies, CEOs, say that they're going to compete on customer experience. They're going to differentiate by customer experience. I hope that's the case, because consumers have power. And we're in the social era right now where it matters, where people will say, hey, go to this doctor, not that doctor. The team that I had at Huntsman Cancer, they saved my life. I had a 20% survival rate, and they made it their mission to not let me die. And so that's why it matters. That's why what you do matters, and that's why we can all actually do a better job. So I'm happy to take questions, but let's bring, the superhero with the superpower, Dave, back up here, and then any questions, seriously. Anything.
Anybody have a question before I jump in?
They're asleep?
Come on. Remember this energy thing. All right, right here.
So Jed asked, how do you get employees to buy in? So I think that there's things that you can do to get employees to understand, but I think it's more important for you to collect people, find people who understand customer experience. So early in my career, we were at an event, had a gentleman who worked for me, and the event was I think it was in Dallas or Austin, and we had customers flying in, and the plane landed without its landing gear. And our customer on the flight lost everything that they had brought and lost their shoes. I don't really understand that, but there were no shoes. So my employee was at the airport to do a meet and greet, met the customer, took the customer, bought clothes, shoes, jacket, everything for the customer. Got the customer to the event, everything's good. He hands me the bill. It's not cheap. I was like, okay, how did you know I was going to pay for this? He's like, actually, it never even occurred to me. I never thought about it. But if you don't pay for it, I'm going to cover it because it was the right thing to do. And I'm like, you're my guy. So I, of course, paid for it. But he's worked with me for 3 companies because he gets customer experience. He knows if you can build a team of people that can be resilient, that can figure stuff out, that don't have to follow the rules of the company, and if you can reinforce that with those people, promote those people, honor those people, other people will start to figure it out, that's how they need to be. But they need a model because people can't be what they can't see. So you need to be like, this guy, he gets it. Good question.
Carine, we'll sit down for a minute.
Okay. This is groovy.
Yeah, we brought that in for you.
I'm going to take it home with me.
There you go. Tell us I'll ask the same question I asked Brad, your friend. I'd like to let the audience get to know you as a person. You have 2 boys.
I have 2 sons.
How do you balance your life? How do you balance everything with being a top CEO and mother and wife?
So I get this question a lot, and I don't really strive for balance because I don't think you can get there. I strive for equilibrium, right? I just need to have equilibrium across the planet. It took me 22 years to get my 2 sons. So people are like, it took you so long, why do you work? Well, I kind of after you work for so long, then you're kind of there, and I love it. When I'm at home, I try to be the best mom on the planet, right? When I'm traveling, I try to be the best mom on the planet. When I'm at work, I try to be the best executive. But I also understand that I have resources to be able to outsource, right? Because the secret to my success is outsourcing everything I don't want to do, right?
Yeah.
Yard work, housekeeping. Not everybody has that, right? Not everybody has discretionary income to be able to do that. So I'm sensitive to the fact that there are working folks, working moms that, they have to make some tough decisions. But I don't sleep a lot. 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
4
tell
hours.
anybody, yeah.
I think that's a little bit more than some here last night, I think. But
what a great place, though, right? Sundance?
Yeah.
Super.
So you talked about being a cancer survivor.
Yeah.
We share a somewhat of a bond in that those who were here last year heard the story. My mom, who's also ovarian cancer survivor, she was here last night with us. What did that experience teach you? How are you a better leader after going through that experience? What did that?
So believe it or not, cancer was a gift for me. And I can say that now because I'm 5 years out of it. But I was the chief marketing officer at Symantec, really big job. Hard job, punishing job. They pay you a lot of money for a reason because it's just hard. And I started in 2007, actually built my first actual CX with that name program in 2007, so I was kind of ahead of my time. So when I was diagnosed, there's no cancer in my family. There's no we die of old age or people murder us, right? There's no cancer. There's no heart attacks, So when they're like, you have cancer and you have a horrible cancer. You have ovarian cancer, it's a clear cell cancer, less than 20% survival rate. Oh, and heads up, you have cancer of the appendix. I'm like, why I gotta be the best at everything? So, seriously. And, when you gotta tell your parents, that's tough. I've been married for 34 years. When you gotta look at your college sweetheart and be like, okay, the second wife cannot spend all my money. Right? Because you got to have that discussion. But the hardest part is to tell your kids that you might not be here. So my kids were 9 and 17 at the time. So my 17-year-old was matter organized. So he's a scientist. So he was like, I'm gonna find a cure. I'm like, just clean your room. But my younger son was like, Mom, don't die. Don't leave me with Dad, because Dad never buys treats at the movie, right? Everybody gets their own popcorn, drink, and the weird pickle if they want. I don't care. But my husband's like, everybody has to share a drink. So, so I made it I'm one of those people who have a vision and a plan. I can solve for everything. So my vision, not die. My plan, build a team to help me not die. And then I kept a journal of like, what can I learn from this? Because it would be a shame to waste something so horrible. And so I wrote everything down, and I was really thoughtful about what it meant to be a student of cancer, what the care was like, what can I learn from this? So when I finished, I did 18 months of chemo, so chemotherapy every single week for 6 months, not for sissies, and then every 21 days for a year, also not for sissies. And I am a better mother, I'm a better executive, I'm a better human, because I know I'm gonna die, right? I know I'm gonna die. I don't know how much time I have left, so I'm not gonna waste any time with bad humans, One of the reasons I changed to come to Banyan, I'm not going to work with bad humans. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to do anything I don't want to do. And I'm going to look for opportunities to lift every human, because when I die, I want them to say, gosh, every time we met her, we were taller, we felt better, and she made us laugh. So I want a greater than sign on my tombstone, just a greater than, you know, like she made stuff greater than. So I still have a lot of work to do, but when you said, can you come and talk to these guys, it was like another opportunity for me to meet some cool people, but also kind of get my message across that happiness is a choice, and we get to do some amazing things, and we're all going to die, so don't waste a minute. Don't waste a minute being bugged at someone. Be free. Forgive everyone, even those people you hate. Forgive them, because it doesn't help you do anything that you need to do and that you should do.
I think that deserves a great... Well, after that, inspiring. Like I said, seeing my mom go through it, I have so much respect and admiration for all of those. I know anyone in the audience is touched by cancer. All of us have, and so it's great to have that inspiration from you. Going a little bit into customer success. If you're hiring a customer success leader, what are you looking for?
So I have this concept we use at our house that's called SEAL Team Clark, right? My children know that they need to adapt, improvise, and overcome, right? So if they call me with some, oh, I can't find my school uniform, they're going to get the adapt, improvise, overcome. Yeah. So I hire Navy SEALs, right? Sea, air, land, right? People that can figure stuff out. The Navy SEALs aren't any smarter, really. Yeah. They just move through obstacles. So when you have CX people, they have hard jobs, like I said. They got to move through all kinds of obstacles. You got dev challenges, you got sales challenges, you got inner political challenges in the company. But if you you find a SEAL team, you find a SEAL member, they just figure it out. And they don't make their problems your problem. And they're advocates for the customer. They're like, yo, we're going to make this easier. We're not going to go through this line of junk that we thought was a good idea. We're just going to get the customer what they need. We're going to go and just buy those clothes. We're going to figure it out. We don't care. And we don't care if we get beat, because we're going to err on the side of the customer every time.
That's
and
great.
People who start every meeting with, hey, let's start with the customer. Here are the escalations we haven't taken care of. Here are the problems we still have. Every meeting starts with, okay, this is what we're going to do to solve for the customer. That's a different way to get your job done.
That's great. So if we've got senior customer success leaders here. They're all Navy SEALs. What advice would you give if their CEO isn't bought into customer success and customer experience? How should they get that buy-in?
So you got to be the Rosetta Stone, right? Don't give them a list of, we measured this, we measured that. Look how great we are the whole time. They don't care. Explain to them how you're going to make their life better, how you're going to solve for retention, how you're going to make it easier for customers to renew. Because a lot of us have crappy products, right? I've made my career selling and marketing crappy products. So you can't ever wait for the product to be perfect. But you got to help the CEO understand how you're going to solve their problems, which is always expense, it's always growth, it's always the cost of getting new customers. And when I've spent my career in CX, and so when I sit with the CEO, I say, okay, first thing you need to understand, you're going to make more money taking care of your existing customers than you are going to get new customers. Yes, you need to get new customers, but you can't do it at the expense of taking care of current customers. If you look at some of the TV providers like DirecTV, Dish Network, they have a very high churn rate because they focus more on getting new customers than actually taking care of customers. How do I know? Because I've been a customer for like 35 years, and they don't care about me, right? Yeah. But they're starting to figure it out. And so you get your CEO to understand, FedEx was one of my customers, U.S. Postal Service one of my customers. U.S. Postal Service, think of the CX person for U.S. Postal Service. Gosh, do they have a hard job, right? You got union people who've been there for like 5,000 years. They're the ones working in the post offices, right? Because that's the cherry job, because you don't have to be in the weather and dogs don't bite you, and you're like, it's my break, right? You just leave. And they're super grouchy in the post office. That's why I don't go to the post office. But U.S. Postal Service, they've made a lot of money doing last mile for FedEx and UPS because they have the infrastructure to go out to remote areas. So the CX guy has to deal with the fact that he's never going to get happy customers in the post office. So what he does is manage how profitable it is to take that business from FedEx, UPS, and Amazon to deliver on holidays and Sundays, and that's helped them be very profitable. Very profitable is like a relative. But he has found what his boss, the Postmaster General, PMG, what he cares about, and so he has built a program to help his boss look good.
That's great. So we're just about out of time. Any last advice for these leaders as they're in the trenches, taking care of customers, building teams?
So don't lose hope, right? Because you have hard jobs, and there's days where you're like, why am I killing myself? Because I am the most underappreciated person, and I got to deal with every problem. And it's a good thing that you have organizations like this and opportunities like this so that don't waste time, like spend time sharing what you've learned from each other. Be a student of your own customer experience. Like I said, try your own products. I had a product manager one time that launched a product, multi-million-dollar product, never tried the product. And he's like, you should promote me. And I'm like, I'm going to fire you. Because the product, when we launched it, it consumed all the RAM, shut down all the other applications, and locked up the customer's machine. He never even tried it on his own. Like, I give stuff to my mother. If my mother can do it, I call it the Claire effect. If Claire can figure it out, then we have something, right? So don't lose hope. Don't give up. You're explorers, you're pioneers. Guess what? We're just at the beginning of how powerful customer experience will be for the planet, because consumers are demanding a better customer experience from every company. And the companies that survive will be the ones that differentiate their programs by customer experience. The companies that won't survive, they're the companies that we grew up with, right? The JCPenney's, the Kmart's. They're going to struggle because they have so much old systems that they're tied to. They're going to be like Kodak, right? They're not going to be relevant.
Yeah, that's great. Carine, thank you so much.
Thank you. I had a good time.
This
Thank
has
you
been
for your
amazing.
attention.
We love your joy for life, your leadership, and thank you so much.